Thank you for taking the time to join us today as we talk about doulas, pregnancy, and maternal mental health. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about histories of doulas as well as postpartum depression and the whole birthing care and everything like that.
Right now, come here, you. Pronounce calling you. Up, up. Say that one more time, please.
Now we're in the midst of this COVID pandemic. Has your practice changed?
Um, it has changed for me in terms of the consultation and interaction that I would like to have with the potential client, having to restructure how we would provide services and still, you know, kind of give families that assurance that they can still receive services. It just would look different when we are using maybe an online medium like this. Or, for example, I know doulas now for births, if they were, set to go and promised to be there for the actual birth in person, and now a hospital is restricting the amount of persons that can be with the mother and say only one person, okay, that leaves the doula out by default. You maybe have the partner there, mother, somebody, closer to the
Mm-hmm.
mother with her. And if that leaves out the doula, who's, they play an essential role, does that mean that they can't provide services? No. It changes to maybe a FaceTime online constant, person to give advice and coach them through the birth and labor process. So that sort of thing. And like I said, for me, the way it's changed is I like to meet face to face with potential clients and have a sit down and talk about, my services and what I'm there to provide. And it would have to maybe, based off of their comfortability, change and be like what we're doing now. We're having a Zoom meeting, so a Zoom consultation. And so those are the kind of changes that we're looking at until some of the restrictions are lifted and the comfortability is there and would allow a more in-person contact with the families. So
Well, I'm glad to hear that doula services have been able to pivot in the midst of this crisis. So I'm glad moms are still getting some sort of support during this time. And I too have heard
absolutely.
lots of stories of moms not even being allowed to have their significant other in the room and birthing completely alone.
And that's a
That
crying shame. Yeah.
I cannot even imagine. And I
Yeah.
have a whole lot to say about that, but that's for another topic of
Right.
discussion. So recently I heard of this story of a mom, Unique Clay. She was pregnant, she gave birth, and she also tested positive for COVID. Yet she was discharged from the hospital, sent home, and died shortly after. How do you support, moms being diagnosed with COVID during this uncertain time when we don't really know much as to how COVID progresses rather, is it transmitted to the baby, and all these other unknown factors? How do you support them?
From a doula standpoint, to look at a family who, you know, mom is diagnosed and has COVID, what do we do? What role do we play? I think it's still a role we can play to support what the mental processes that they're going through, and kind of talking them through you know what the outcome would be in event of and help put a plan in place. I think there's a lot of, fear, stress, anxiety, that all those things, affect your immune system and your overall chance of being able to recover if you're stressed out without support, without somebody to talk to, without somebody to help, you make a plan for care postpartum, what family members you can insert, a individual case-by-case basis with the comfortability level of who you would invite to the home or in a setting with someone who is diagnosed with COVID. Like, are you looking at just a doula outfitted in PPE postpartum to visit that mom with all the protective, things you can think of? Is there one willing to do that? I would believe and think that there are doulas willing to go frontline for moms and their families in those situations. And I think just kind of knowing what to look for, because we are trained for being able to just resource and say, I think you should go to your doctor for whether it's excessive bleeding, high blood pressure, different kinds of postpartum situations that women experience and don't know how urgent they might need in terms of care postpartum. Like, no, you need to go to the hospital right away. No, you shouldn't be discharged. Kind of more of an advocate and a voice for the mom is what having a doula on call would look like. So if she maybe, for example, had a doula, because this is what the scenario is that we're trying to say, what might have changed her outcome if you can insert a doula, then she would have been able to have her doula on call, share with her all her, woes and what she's experiencing, and that doula would say, you need to be in a hospital, you need to go to your doctor, and kind of just push and encourage something that family members are like, I don't know, they sent you home. And it's like, no. And that kind of strong advocate and voice for you, because we're kind of just with your own intuition, drawing it out. Because the mother knows best, have their own intuition and know. And when you speak it out, a doula is hearing what you're saying and making sure that you are following what you have said. If you're not feeling well, okay, you're unwell, do you feel you should go to the hospital? Yeah, I think I should. Then you should. And it's just kind of putting that together and not kind of leaving room for the, I don't know what to do. We kind of just assure you that, yes, you do know. You already know how you're feeling, how bad it is, and we should, follow through with care and make sure that you get that. And so I think it's helpful because, again, family members, whether they're medically trained professionals or not, are at a loss. And again, the shift focuses to baby, right? And your doula is there for you, the mother. So
true. Very, very, very true. But what about the dads and the support systems? Do you provide services for them?
I think that it does not replace. That's a huge misconception to think a doula inserts himself in place of your partner, your husband, your support person who you already have just, again, by default, because a lot of times you just have someone there, whether it's your sister, your aunt, your mother, your significant other, of course, husband. If they're there, then we're working together. We're not there to take their place. So it alleviates a lot of pressure from partners when they see their wives going through this extreme agonizing kind of pain and don't really know what techniques could be used to help them cope. A doula steps in, would even model ways and invite the partner to help. So if, there's a support role that we know a partner can play, a doula tandem working together with that partner invites them in to do that. So they don't just feel like they're standing there and off to the side helplessly watching their loved one suffer. So we work together, and in cases of postpartum where, the husband maybe just gets, 2-3 weeks off of work and then has to go back, the window for postpartum care for a doula is 0 to 12 weeks. So those first 3 months, if you call your doula, then when you're, having to stay late at work, your doula comes into the home, can cook a meal for your family, fold down clothes, laundry, and put things up and away. And you, the husband, are like, thank God, I don't have to rush, come home, and feel pressure to perform these tasks that are needing to be done, very practical, and can't be expected of a mother who is recovering, who needs to feed baby, who is being drained, like, physically from just having to provide that constant care for the baby, but the household still has to run. And a doula, if you insert them and choose them in postpartum period, it, I think, is the most helpful to partners. They would say, husbands would be like, oh, thank God that we chose the postpartum doula. They came in 2-3 hours that day. They helped my wife do this, that, and the third, and she was able to take a nap, rest, and she's not cranky and upset at me, for not doing all these things because they got done. My doula came and did it.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is a huge benefit that, if they thought of the after side of it, because birth, again, that setting is so intimate, it might be hard to imagine other people there, right? But after the fact, postpartum, definitely having someone come in to alleviate a lot of those stressors and meet very practical needs in your home and support your wife and know what to look for, depression and those signs. Again, we're trained for looking out for that and can alert a husband and say, hey, I think your wife may be blah, 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 and they heard it from someone who they know is a trained professional, then it's not going to be overlooked. It could be addressed, and it could be addressed early on, and, that they get the care that they need, and, it just, again, it's a huge burden lifted off of a partner who, it's a stressful time and a huge transition for families to go through, and they need support as well. So we're there for the mom, but we support the family as well.
And so that is so wonderful that you provide those type of care. And certain cultures, that's what they do. They have their extended family to help mom and essentially be lay doulas, help mom do certain stuff, the laundry, the cleaning, the cooking, so that moms can truly relax, recover, get rest in between feedings and taking care of the baby. So maternal mental health is extremely, extremely neglected in this country. And as you know, May is Maternal and Mental Health Awareness Month. So the CDC recently published an article on the 15th just highlighting perinatal depression as a complication of maternal and infant health outcomes. So we all know that if your mental health is not optimal, your physical, emotional, spiritual health, everything will be out of whack as well. In terms of moms, the whole maternal health component, how do you as a doula help moms cope if you start seeing them going through signs of baby blues or postpartum depression?
It's critical to think of, before you ever had a child, you may think, oh, I'll never experience what some women experience with postpartum depression or those sort of things if you never had been depressed before, which is something different for women who already have a history of mental health issues and have dealt with depression. So it's, one of those things where know yourself, get all the resources and information you can to support yourself when, you go through such a huge transition in your life, like having a baby. So, whether it's antepartum, like just before the baby arrives and you're stressed out and have a bunch of fears and concerns and worried about your ability to connect and bond with your baby and those sort of things, having a doula there to support you through that and understand that it's normal to have fears and those types of things, so you're not feeling, alone in your thoughts. And because we have all the resources that we are obligated to affiliate ourselves with and know about to provide to moms, it's one of those things where just even on the front end, we could say, hey, you could attend a support group for expecting moms. You've gone through X, Y, and Z. There's other women you could talk to about this, about your fears, and why don't you look into that? So that's on the front end. Now, postpartum, knowing and being trained on what to look for when it comes to the various prenatal mood and anxiety disorders, then that's critical for, just managing care for the mom, and knowing that, like you said, there's only like one prenatal visit, and maybe that topic doesn't get addressed about how they've been feeling, if there are issues, with them bonding with the baby, if they're having thoughts, of hurting themselves or the baby, and just kind of looking for what are those, symptoms for mood, anxiety disorder, depression. A doula being trained and aware of what those are can help call it out, can help just provide a resource for that family, for that mom in that critical stage and period of her postpartum recovery.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing. What are some key takeaways you would like your listeners to know?
I think the key takeaway that I'd like listeners to know is that, knowledge is power. We all have heard that. And making informed decisions is what will empower moms and what will empower any individual when they're going through huge life transitions, and knowing that it's okay to ask for help. It's something that you should absolutely have, is an abundance of support persons in your corner in your life when you're transitioning and about to bring, a new life into your family. It takes a village. All these sayings and things don't take lightly and for granted. Never think what I think America has done is made so many family units work alone, that they forgot that, way back when, wherever your family came from, those respective countries worked together and had a more community, operation in child rearing and caring for, their neighbors and that sort of thing, where we don't know our neighbors, maybe something
so
like,
true.
Yeah, a hurricane brings you all outside and you end up talking to people when you don't have power, but you need to know who your neighbors are. You need to have a community to raise and care for yourself and your family. So don't take that American mentality of independence and I can do it all by myself, because you shouldn't have to. It's just not even natural to think that that's the way to do it, is have your baby, leave the hospital 2 days and you should be fine. Go back to work and hop to it's nobody's business. And don't be afraid to talk about your experience and share with others, what you've gone through, and don't make topics like giving birth taboo and postpartum taboo. And the struggles can be real, and if you talk about it and if you're informed, you're empowered. And so we want to empower women, make informed decisions, and get the support we need.
Yes, as the old adages go, no man is an island, no man stands alone, and
That's
it takes
right.
a village to raise a child. So why not have a village there for you through the whole pregnancy, birth, and postpartum phases of life?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So where can we reach you if we want to enlist your services?
I do have an Instagram with my business name, Grow in Life Doula Services, no spaces, no underscores, Grow in Life Doula Services. And so that's my IG handle. I have my email with my first initial, middle initial, and last initial, v.m.viard@gmail.com. So you can DM me on Instagram, send me an email, and just reach out to me through Island Hope, and however you want. I also have a Doula Net profile where it lists my services, and of course other doulas in your local city where you're from that you can look for if you're interested in doula services. So wherever you are in the world, doulanet.com, find a doula. They're there for you.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. And I hope you all learned something from today's episode. Talk to you next time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to today's Life as We Know It podcast. Remember, life is what you make it, so be sure to live it fully every day. Also, if you'd like to hear more of our topics or stay up to date with us, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and get notified each time a new video is added.